will hand over now to Tomoko Hasegawa. And Tomoko is from ScenarioMIP and is going to be telling us about the development and the details of the new CMIP7 scenarios.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm working on the integrated assessment model for for a long time. So today, and I also joined the ScenarioMIP steering committee member in 2023, and since then I have been working on the ScenarioMIP. So today, on behalf of the ScenarioMIP members, I will introduce the new scenarios for CMIP7. So as you know, overall, climate research is divided into several communities: socioeconomic futures, and then physical science, and then impact adaptations. And if each communities use independent scenarios, then results become too difficult to compare. So the core shared scenarios is needed to consistently compare to across the broader communities. And historically, and in the previous cycle, the shared core scenarios, such as in the SSP and RSCP framework, it was provided from the IAM communities, and then provided and helped to use the same scenarios across different broader communities. But the current framework was developed in 2015 and around 2015 to 17, and already outdated, and the world has already been largely changed since then. So we need to update the underlying assumptions and also our classifications of scenarios. So to meet these needs, ScenarioMIP members created the process to redesign and update the scenarios. To start the discussion, first meeting of the first workshop of the ScenarioMIP was held in Reading in UK in 2023. And then a large group of our experts are invited to discuss our characteristics and then points that should be reflected in the new scenario set. And also, scenario members organize multiple meetings and then task force to interact with each modeling communities and then get feedback. And here is the updates in the new generation scenarios. So first, we updated GDP and population data. So the teams who previously developed the GDP and population, they updated this information, and then each IM, integrated assessment modeling teams, updated these informations. And second is emission-driven simulation. I will talk on this later. And third is high side emissions. So as you know, there was a large discussion about the level of high emission in the previous cycle, about SSP 585. So we need to update this level. And fourth is about low-end scenarios. So there was an interest of the emissions with as low as plausible. So we include this low-end scenario. And next is overshoot. So that's very important topic in the next round. And then there is a need to the overshoot scenarios with different size and length of overshoot. And next is our current policy scenario. So there is needs to the scenario with alignment with current policies. And then for now is extension to 2,500 to allow sufficient time to set various overshoot scenarios. And here is a new 7 scenarios. So 7 integrated assessment modeling teams joins in producing the new scenario set. And this scenario name is showing the emission trajectories. because previous old name, SSB base name was not intuitive for this exercise. So this time we put a name in alignment with emission trajectories. And we also select each marker scenario, marker model for each category. So first is high, so I explain it one by one. And first is high emission scenarios. This scenario with emission as high as plausible and representing the world that things goes worse than expected. So including the rollback of the current mitigation policies. And next is medium. It's representing the continuous current policies in the future and explaining the representing the world where a current policy takes us. And please note, this is not most likely and nor the best estimate, just medium emission levels across these 7 scenarios. And the next two is high, and one is high to low scenario. This is initially is followed the same trajectory as high emission level, but strong rapid reduction after mid-century. And second is mid to low scenarios. This representing the weak mitigation effort and not achieve the Paris Agreement by the end of the century. And these two scenarios achieved the net zero CO2 by the end of the centuries. And these two scenarios are prepared to answer the questions like whether temperature really goes down after the high overshoot. And this time we have 3 low emissions scenarios. The first is low scenarios. That is alignment with the Paris Agreement, limiting to 2 degrees. And the next is low to negative. That's with high overshoot and then return to the 1.5 degrees. So as we showed you, as we see in the name, this scenario has a net negative CO2 after the mid-century. And the last very low scenario has emissions as low as plausible within the feasible constraint. And also this scenario assuming the sustainability actions. And new approaches has important consequences of uncertainties. So in previous cycle, emissions were harmonized and translated into the concentrations using a single model. So that's why there was a one-to-one relationship between the emissions and concentrations across all models. And this effectively worked to reduce uncertainty. But this time, ESM computes the concentrations by themselves. So ESM climate models generate their own concentration pathways. So that includes uncertainty. So this causes real uncertainty of the associated with a carbon cycle process in the climate models. But this approach is very important to the answers, the questions like if the temperature really going down to the certain level, like 2.0, 2.0 or 1.5 degree after a high overshoot, even if we consider a carbon cycle process in the climate models. So, and this is our schedule, and then now we are, IM teams runs almost finalized, and then we are doing a final check on the non-marker scenarios. And also, we have to provide harmonized input data to the impact community because our IPCC next assessment report is published in around 2028. So now we are working on the harmonizing the emissions and land use map. And then as Helen mentioned, we selected two scenarios as high prioritized scenarios, which is high emission and very low scenarios. So that's, these two harmonized data is already available, or soon be available. And then, yes, now this AR7 cycle is much shorter than previous cycle, so now we are working harder to as fast as possible. In the last slide is, so I'm working on the Iconics, and Iconics is doing a survey for the next generation scenarios for next 10 years. So this scenario is for AR8, and then they are doing a survey for gathering broad and interdisciplinary feedbacks to determine the future direction of the scenarios. So please, and in your physical science based opinions or comments is very important. So please visit this survey and then input your comments. So yeah, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tomoko. We've got time for one question in the room and we've got one online. So if I start online and anyone who wants to ask a question can line up at the microphone. So online we have a question which says, which scenario represents mid-century climate?
That's a difficult question. So to me, so representing mid-century climate. Yeah. It means, so can we answer somebody these questions? So if you're focusing on the near term, like 2040 or so, maybe medium scenarios is a medium or middle levels of emission scenario is better describing, but we cannot say different likelihood. So yeah, I cannot say which one is a best estimate for mid-climate simulations.
Thank you. Oh, we've got Michael with a question there.
Thanks very much. When users see scenarios, there's often a lot of assumptions about which one's most likely, is current policy, etc. But not only that, they look at the scenario set to be a representative and even sampling of all the possibilities. But I guess in this set, we've actually got a whole lot of different flavours of low scenario, so weighted towards the bottom end. And people may perceive that as being, well, we're definitely on one of those tracks and we should discount the high. I was wondering if your views about how we communicate this scenario set as not an even sampling of the set of possibilities.
So possibility means, I understand, is a likelihood of these each scenarios.
So I'm kind of saying that there's kind of 4 different flavours of low and there's only one high. People might kind of consider that to be, well, there's more probability will follow one of the low scenarios compared to the high, whereas it's kind of illustrating different types of low scenarios. And we shouldn't discount the high, for example. I'm just wondering about your views about communicating those kind of issues.
I'm not sure.
Sorry, maybe I didn't
clearly
explain that
understand
very well.
your points, but yeah.
Maybe I'll discuss it later.
Yeah, in general, so we cannot say different possibility or likelihood between across the scenarios. Yeah, just maybe high and very low is less likely compared to the others, but in general, is all scenario is
it's possible.
Yeah, of course,
the main
and then
message,
and then shows.
I'll discuss it at lunchtime. Sorry, I didn't explain it better. No worries.
Let's discuss later.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tomoko. That was great.
Okay, thank you.